Our Bible reading and devotional for April 9th. Our reading today comes from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 10, beginning in verse 25 through the end of the chapter. And behold, a lawyer stood up to put him to the test, saying, Teacher, what shall I do to inherit eternal life? He said to him, What is written in the law? How do you read it? And he answered, You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself. And he said to him, You have answered correctly. Do this, and you will live. But he, desiring to justify himself, said to Jesus, And who is my neighbor? Jesus replied, A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and he fell among robbers, who stripped him and beat him and departed, leaving him half dead. Now by chance a priest was going down that road. When he saw him, he passed by on the other side. So likewise a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But the Samaritan, as he journeyed, came to where he was. When he saw him, he had compassion. He went to him and bound up his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. Then he set him on his own animal and brought him to an inn and took care of him. And the next day he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper, saying, Take care of him, and whatever more you spend, I will repay you when I come back. Which of these 3 do you think proved to be a neighbor to the man who fell among the robbers? He said, The one who showed him mercy. And Jesus said to him, You go and do likewise. Now as they went on their way, Jesus entered a village, and a woman named Martha welcomed him into her house. And she had a sister called Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet and listened to his teaching. But Martha was distracted with much serving. And she went up to him and said, Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Tell her to help me. But the Lord answered her, Martha, Martha, you are anxious and troubled about many things, but one thing is necessary. Mary has chosen the good portion, which will not be taken away from her. Our devotional thoughts for today. Jesus presents what we know of as a Socratic method to the listener here in the story of the Good Samaritan. He asks the question that really only has one answer. The parable Jesus tells is in response to a lawyer who wishes to test him as to what the greatest commandment was. When Jesus answered correctly, the lawyer wished to justify himself by asking the question, And who is my neighbor? One wonders at times if this passage offers more to learn by the parable or by the behavior of the lawyer. In the lawyer's behavior, we may learn something of ourselves. Do we seek to justify our actions by twisting the scriptures to meet our needs? Do we seek to catch others in their words when it really suits our own ego to appear more knowledgeable? We do not know what the lawyer's reaction was to the parable or the fact that he had the tables turned on him. Time and again, this same scenario would be played out in hopes of catching Jesus in his own words. Time and again, these would lead to a humbling of those who sought to trap him. In the parable, we are able to get a glimpse of what it is that God expects of us. The first 2 who come upon the one who was robbed, beaten, and left for dead simply pass by, walking around this man. They were too busy for whatever reason. Perhaps the thought of becoming unclean and unable to fulfill their duties to the temple. Perhaps it was a fear of becoming another victim themselves. We don't know. All that we are told is that they were not a neighbor in the truest sense of the word as Jesus presents from the law. It is the one whom was least expected to offer a hand based on the bad blood between the Jews and the Samaritans. Yet he showed compassion and proved to be a neighbor and fulfilled the law. Question of the day. What does it mean to you to be a neighbor? And a thought to meditate on this day. When all is said and done, we may find little solace when we attempt to justify our actions through false motives. And those are our thoughts for today, April 9th.